We can now speak to Guy Platten, the Secretary General of the International Chamber of Shipping, the principal global trade association for ship owners, representing over 80% of the world merchant fleet with international bodies that impact on shipping. Hello, Guy.
Good afternoon, Nick.
Guy, can you just give us some kind of idea about the importance of the amount of food that leaves Ukraine on a daily basis or had been up until February the 24th this year?
Well, they say about 20 million tonnes to get out. It's a critical export nation for grain, particularly for Africa. I think, for example, Egypt, their all imports come from Ukraine, and many other African nations import grain from Ukraine. So the fact that it's been stopped is causing real issues. So we tentatively welcome the agreement on Friday, which will actually move this grain to get this grain to move on humanitarian grounds. But clearly, the events of yesterday and what we've been saying as well is that the safety of the crews and how safe is it going to be for their ship to leave the port. So, there's a lot of work still to be done, in my view.
And the food that leaves Ukraine, it has an enormous effect on prices around the world and also on food price inflation here in the UK, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, we saw in the prospects of signing the agreement, the prices came down by 2% on the day. So clearly, if we can get the grain out, that's going to have a positive impact on the overall price of grain going through. But again, we need to make sure we can get that grain out safely. And I think that's our concern. We welcome the agreement, but how do we get the ships, which are the ships inside Odessa port now, but how we guarantee their safety and the safety of the crews when these shipments do start up?
I think a lot of people saw the agreement as a glimmer of hope, didn't they? And then there was a strike on the port earlier yesterday morning. Taras Vysotsky has said that the shipments could go within a week if all guarantees are followed up by partners. Essentially, that means that the UN and Turkey. Are your members counting on these guarantees? I mean, could they be assured?
Absolutely. We do need to be confident in the guarantees that are going to be provided. Ultimately, there was about 109 ships which were stuck in Ukrainian ports at the start on February the 24th. They're still there. So there's some ships that can sail, particularly from Odessa, but only if we know that they can transit through the mined area safely, and that needs escorts to do that. If they know they're not going to be targeted when they leave those mined areas as well. And we need to make sure that have confidence in the security guarantees being put there. We also need to make sure we have the crews to man them. We demand most of the ships in the Ukrainian ports as far as we can, and we've obviously got to man them up, and we've also got to make sure the ships are safe and seaworthy before they can sail as well. So a lot to be done. Tentatively welcome it, but obviously what the event of yesterday shows you how precarious the whole situation is.
Well, how are these strikes going to affect your members, and what are the challenges of working under these conditions? I imagine it must be absolutely brutal.
Well, I think what we did, we had 2,000 foreign seafarers from other countries trapped on board the ships at the start of the conflict, and we managed to reduce those numbers down to 450. A lot of ships are laid up actually in the port, so we need to actually recrew them, and we need to give guarantees that the crew are not going to be targeted, that they're going to be safe. We then need to make sure the ships are seaworthy. We need to be confident in the security arrangements to get the ships out. So there's a huge number of procedural and practical things need to be put in place before that first shipment can take place. But obviously, there's an opportunity to get the grain out, and we'll do our part as much as we possibly can.
Guy, one of the issues is being actually getting crews, like you say, to the Black Sea. How many crews are needed at the moment? What's the shortage like?
Well, if you think we had 2,000 at the start on ships, and we're down to about 450, we need to actually man those ships up with competent, highly trained crew. We need to get them there safely. So that's one issue. Where are those crews going to come from? We know that the Ukrainian seafarers, which make up about 4.5% of the world's crewing, and there's obviously martial law in Ukraine, means it's difficult for them to leave and sail on the ships. Those are in Ukraine. Russian seafarers make up 10%. That's clearly not an option. So it's managing to find where we're going to get these crews from and get those ships out. And that's something I know that ship managers and ship owners are working on as we speak to see how that can practically be done. But ultimately, it's their safety which is paramount before we can move those ships.
Guy, thanks very much for speaking to us here on Times Radio today.